What's up, everybody? We are definitely going to discuss the elephant in the room, which is the number 3 spot on CoinMarketCap today. Does that apply to you? I know I woke up this morning, I had a look at the number 3 spot, still half asleep, didn't really recognize it wasn't Ripple, had a look and saw that it was up 90%, and I was like, wow, what's the price of one Ripple? $500, I'm rich! Sadly, that was not the case. But there are some factors that are causing the price to go up and potentially not coming down. Some of those being people are struggling to sell them at the moment. And I hope you bought some altcoins. You don't seem to have been able to go wrong. You had a 1 in 100 chance of picking the wrong coin if you bought a few days ago. Singapore and South Korea are introducing legislation into the cryptocurrency spheres. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And lastly, Ethereum smart contracts. How secure are they? So we are back to the 101.8 at the moment. So it could be 102 by the time you watch this video, 103. Bitcoin has unfortunately fallen from the highs of 2,920 yesterday, but definitely predictable. Everyone wanted to get their Bitcoin Cash. Then the lifeblood is going back out into the altcoins. And my, oh my, if it isn't going back into Bitcoin Cash big time at the moment. I did say we would see these crazy lines, but at the moment it's just up, down, and up. But the issue with this is that a lot of people are still struggling to sell their Bitcoin Cash. There's a lot of exchanges. I know the ones that I want to use, such as Yobit or Bittrex, currently do not have deposits available for Bitcoin Cash, so I can't send my Bitcoin Cash to them to sell. Not that I'm going to, but I definitely think that this market cap is potentially unsustainable for Bitcoin Cash. It's much higher than we anticipated it to begin with. Let me cheat and use a little calculator here. I think everyone who is invested in cryptocurrencies probably has this page bookmarked. 10 billion is what percent of 44 billion? 22%, 23% is amazing. I think that's very high. I don't think that's sustainable. I think that will come crashing down eventually. How high will it go? I'm not sure. But definitely I think the price is being artificially inflated by people struggling to sell them. As soon as the exchanges, some of the major exchanges that people want to use, allow you to start selling Bitcoin Cash, I think this is going to come tumbling down a bit. How far, I don't know. That is amazing. That is an extremely high market cap at the moment, and I don't think anyone expected that on August 2nd. I certainly didn't. I thought 20% would be the most. But what I'm talking about when I say that you couldn't go wrong with any of these altcoins, I mean, look at them. Everything is up big time. Apart from Tether, but it never really does. Everything's up. Like you might have made a wrong choice picking Gnosis maybe, it's only up 2%. Everything else is like 5 to 15, NXT up 44. Just the lifeblood is returning. Oh, you could have made a wrong choice hitting Populous at the moment. I mean, just some of the investments that I made. Steam is fairly strong at 130. I got in at 90, so that's good to see. Factum, I got in, I mentioned this, around $16 a few days ago. So that's up quite nicely. So good times all around. I think everyone who has been in this space in the last month deserves to have some good news, because it's been a hard month. It has been a very hard month for cryptocurrency and investors in general. So if you're still around, well done to you. You deserve this. Now, the market is laughably predictable when it comes to certain news. What I'm going to make a comfortable prediction in saying is that when the SegWit code gets locked in, so we are currently at block 905 out of 2016, about halfway there. When this turquoise color gets all the way over here, SegWit gets locked in, Bitcoin's price will rise. I'll call it now. It's a very easy statement to make. How much it could rise by? $100, $200, $300, but people are predictable. Then I'll make another call in November when the 2x part goes ahead, Bitcoin's price will rise. It always goes with the news. It's a very emotional market. Similarly, if this does not get locked in, price will fall. If it does not go ahead with a 2 megabyte size increase, price will fall. What's interesting, when Bitcoin's price will fall, it would be extremely interesting to see if Bitcoin's cash price goes up. And you might think that's a no-brainer, of course it will, but it's not. Because in this last month, when Bitcoin's price was coming down, when Bitcoin came down to around 1800, there were some people saying, while it's crashing, people are going to move into Litecoin. because it's more stable, and then they can just move back when it's more comfortable. That did not happen. Litecoin came down as well. Now, I will admit, Litecoin was one of the most stable altcoins during the crash of last month. However, it was not immune to it, like a lot of people thought. It came down with Bitcoin's price as well. So it'll be extremely interesting to see if Bitcoin Cash would go up at these times. I personally don't think it will much. I still think Bitcoin is the center of the universe. Bitcoin Cash will rise and fall with Bitcoin's price somewhat. Not within the last few days, but as things more stabilize, as things return to normal, I definitely think that's going to happen. Because you can't buy Bitcoin Cash without first buying Bitcoin. Similarly, you can't sell your cryptocurrencies without first converting them into Bitcoin, at least with the vast majority of them. So that's why they're tied to its price. That's why they will rise and fall with Bitcoin. There's no moving this number one spot. It is absolutely rock solid. It is not going anywhere. I think this is artificial and won't last too much longer, potentially. A block is found. It happened at around 6:14 UTC, which is universal time. I think no one uses that, so it's very useless. The first Bitcoin Cash block was about 1.9 megabytes instead of the 8 megabytes. And it's not because they didn't actually go ahead with the 8 megabyte size increase. It was just that with the amount of transactions that were happening, they didn't fill up a block before the mathematical problem that is presented to miners to solve, which should take around 10 minutes. That was solved long before they got to the 8 megabyte block size limit. Still, it took nearly 6 hours for the first block. So currently the difficulty is too high. It's coming from the same difficulty as Bitcoin, but it does not have the same amount of GPUs mining it that Bitcoin does. So the difficulty needs to adjust and needs to start ramping down. So the first block took over 6 hours. I think each one after that took a bit less, but certainly not very fast at the moment. All the rest of the other blocks were less than a megabyte in size, but that's just due to transactions not really being there. The volume, the market activity not really being there. Now, this was an interesting post, and I wanted to share this with you guys. This was an early contributor to Bitcoin. You can see the date of this post, December 30, 2010. Apparently, this guy, Hal Finney, was involved in the extremely early days of Bitcoin. It's theorized he could even be Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto himself, but he's one of about 4 strong possibilities for being him. Anyway, he goes on to say, and it's highlighted in this bit of text, it says, there needs to be a secondary level of payment systems which is lighter, weight, and more efficient, because Bitcoin cannot scale to contain all of the world's transactions. But what he's saying is that you need another system, and that other system is the Lightning Network, or at least it is in the majority of people who believe in Bitcoin. Majority of the people want SegWit so that they can have the Lightning Network. Now, if you didn't know what the Lightning Network is, it allows you to transfer Bitcoin into, let's say, Litecoin to complete a payment and back into Bitcoin before the receiver receives their funds. What this means is that you can complete transactions using Bitcoin, but not use the Bitcoin chain. You can use a different currency's chain to complete it. That's what's known as a layer 2 solution because it's not using the original chain. A lot of people don't like that. They see that Bitcoin's own blockchain could scale, so that's why Bitcoin Cash is here. Now, to everyone who's saying, why Bitcoin Cash when we already have something that's faster, that's got lower fees, Litecoin, why do we need Bitcoin Cash? To those people that are saying that, Litecoin has SegWit, and the main pull for people behind Bitcoin Cash was that it doesn't have SegWit. Bitcoin Cash's supporters think Litecoin is just as bad as Bitcoin, so it's not a good alternative, and that's why they've decided to fork. They want to remain on-chain. They believe that's more original to Satoshi's design, more secure. They don't want to have to deal with another cryptocurrency, which I can understand. Now moving on to world news, because I think it's important, it does affect us all. This news is out of Singapore. They are ruling that ICOs, similar to the US, are securities. They've labeled them as securities. Now, a security is basically the same as a stock or a share, meaning that all cryptocurrency that is generated through an ICO or otherwise will be treated now by the law as a security. And from South Korea, they have introduced legislation making it a requirement for all businesses that use cryptocurrency to hold a deposit as insurance against potential cybercrime incidents, estimated to be around $450,000 per business. As well as that, provisions preventing market manipulation and money laundering using digital currencies also were included in these laws. And I mentioned this more in the last video, but essentially I think the more countries that do this, the more recognition, the more legislation comes in to cryptocurrencies in general, the safer it is for new business startups to create a business that they know is compliant with the law in their countries. This makes it easier for adoption. It's easier for investors who don't like to take unnecessarily great risks, who want to see profits quite certain, shall we say. This makes it easier for the big boys to invest. Most of these laws coming out are very good for long-term adoption in general. The more that happens, the more people know about it, the safer it is, more people start using it, more the price goes up. Lastly, Ethereum smart contract has 8 critical issues, at least one of the older ones. So if you're not aware, one of the earlier codes that Ethereum was running, a programming language, was referred to as Serpent. Now, one of the earliest cryptocurrencies built on top of the Ethereum network was Augur. And Augur recently ran an audit on the security of the programming language that was used to generate its tokens. And basically the news that came out of that audit came out recently and was really bad, low quality and flawed. 8 critical security issues were discovered. So based on this news, Augur very quickly moved to migrate its tokens to the secure ERC20 token, which we currently use now for most Ethereum-based projects, which is written in a different language known as Solidity. Now, Serpent's compiling language was written by one man, Vitalik Buterin, after which, in about December 2015, a bunch of other developers helped Vitalik to create a better, more secure version known as Solidity, which we use now. That in itself has not been audited, not yet at least. However, more security issues are no doubt about to be found with the Solidity programming language. As we know, the DAO hack happened, $50 million was stolen, so it will be interesting to see what the result of Ethereum's market cap would be following an extensive audit on its security. It could be possible that if the audit comes out for Solidity and it says that even the current version of Ethereum has over 10 security issues, very critical ones, then I can see a lot of businesses built on top of Ethereum being really worried. I can see it being really bad for its press and its growth in general. So I hope they're working at that. I know they're working at increasing their ability to handle transactions. EOS claims to do hundreds of thousands a second compared to Ethereum 6. So there's that. They've got a lot to work on basically to make sure that they continue to grow strongly. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.